Good evening. Thank you so much for being here. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Anna. I lead Metta meditation tonight. Anna, I don't know if you, I was like, you look quizzical. I'm like, oh, my name. Yeah, my name is Anna. I lead Metta meditation tonight. For how many of you is this your first time at Dharma Bums? Okay, welcome, welcome. And then for how many of you is this your first time doing a metta practice? Okay, a few of you. And then a question I like to ask, and it's not like there's no agenda behind it. It's really just for me to reflect as a practitioner. How many of you like have kind of a daily practice of meditation? Yeah, okay. And then how many people kind of like want to have a daily practice, but they're not quite there yet or feel like they should? Okay. Um, so at the end, there's this not disclaimer. There's an announcement at the end that we give that someone the other night they refused to refer to as our closing ceremony. So now I think I'm going to call it that. But so at the end, we say we're not teachers, we're not monks, we're not gurus. So I actually like to begin the my part of being the leader with announcing that because this is essentially a lay temple. We're lay people. We practice, we investigate Buddhism, we try to use it in our own lives, and then we sit here and share what we experience with people who come. um, and so none of this is to imply that I am a scholar of Buddhism, that I am, a high level practitioner of Buddhism. I'm just a person who has been using Buddhist practice in my life for, I over a decade at this point, but just because it's something that I have found very engaging, I've found it very challenging. I've found it helpful at times. I've found it more helpful than not, which is why I'm here and why I continue to practice it. So I just like to say that because that to me is kind of the essence of what Dharma Bum is. And then to bridge that into metta. So metta means loving kindness. And a metta meditation is, to my understanding, how we take our practice on our chair or our cushion or in the meditation room to our daily lives. So the first step of meditation is about becoming aware to the present moment, right? It's trying to see things as they are, trying to use a meditative practice to clear thoughts and agitations, to sit with things as they are. Um, I've heard it referred to as, pure consciousness, pure awareness. Um, and then the next thing is that in Buddhist practice, in Western meditation, we often meditate to make ourselves feel better. It's something we do for ourselves. But really and truly in the text, if you were being sort of a purist about the text of Buddhist practice, we meditate to help the entire world, which sounds big and lofty and huge. But metta is the bridge that builds from our cushion in our seat to the greater world. And you can think of that, many Buddhists think of it quite literally, that by sitting on your cushion and using this to bring peace to all sentient beings, you are literally doing a good, and that is entirely valid and entirely appropriate in Buddhist thought. For people who maybe don't take it quite as literally, this is the practice that we do to kind of strengthen that internal muscle so that we're not just benefiting ourselves by sitting here and feeling really good. We can do a lot of things to feel really good, but this is a thing we can do to feel better in our lives, to feel more present, more clear, less agitated, less aggravated, and bridge to our outside lives so that when we are moving through the world, we move with more ease. And ideally, we cause maybe just that little less harm, right? I don't think anyone in this room wants to go through the world thinking that they leave something behind worse for having been there, even if it's just an interaction in your day-to-day life. Ideally, I think most of us feel like I don't want to be the kind of person that when I leave the room, people are like, wow, I'm really glad they're out of here. So that's what metta is. And so what we're going to do is we're going to do about a 20-minute meditation. And we're going to bring loving intentions and thoughts of loving kindness to ourselves, and then bring it outward to eventually reaching all sentient beings. I will guide you, and I use, some language to suggest um, how this can be thought of. I use a sort of more broad language. You can take this home and use this language I use. You can use other language from other Buddhist teachers or practitioners or literature. I actually would, I'm not going to say use your own language because there's a reason we're here in a Buddhist temple, right? So I'm going to say that metta is a practice. It is a practice with ideas and convictions behind it. So I will start us with a 20-minute meditation. And then after that, we will open it to questions and discussions. I like to look right at the clock and get it kind of just right. A little perfectionist. Sitting comfortably, allowing the mind and body to settle. As thoughts arise, you can observe them, let them pass, and bringing the attention to the breath, which is the anchor for presence in meditative practice. And if thoughts arise, no need to judge them, no need to fight them. Acknowledge them and let them go. And now, bringing thoughts of loving kindness to ourselves, with the thought, may I have happiness and the root of all happiness. And if this is initially difficult to bring loving kindness to yourself, you can think of yourself in the third person as someone outside yourself might see you with love and compassion. You might think of yourself as a child or in a vulnerable state, receiving love and kindness from yourself. I wish myself love. Oh gosh, I'm messing this up, sorry. I wish myself happiness and the root of all happiness. And now, widening the circle from yourself to bring your meditation to someone who naturally inspires a feeling of loving kindness in you, someone whom you find easy to love, who spontaneously and naturally arises feelings of loving kindness. With the thought, I wish them happiness and the root of all happiness. And now, enlarging our circle still further to someone or a group of people about whom we feel relatively neutral. They do not give us either strong positive or negative emotions or attachments. It could be someone from your day-to-day life, a group of people you do not know well, but people about whom you feel relatively neutral. And bringing them thoughts of loving kindness as well. I wish them happiness and the root of all happiness. And now, enlarging our circle of intention of loving kindness to include someone or a group of people for whom it is difficult for us to naturally summon feelings of loving kindness. You can choose and guide yourself in how challenging you feel you wish this to be. It does not have to be your arch enemy or the person you've had the most difficulty with your entire life. It can be, but the intention is to recognize that even those for whom we have complicated or conflicted feelings can and are worthy of loving kindness. And we bring the intention in our meditation to include them in our loving kindness with the thought, may they have happiness and the root of all happiness. And finally, having our meditation bring the intention of bringing loving kindness to all beings everywhere, all sentient beings, wherever they may be, around the entire world, across the universe, if that is of your belief, and bringing them loving kindness with the words, I wish them happiness and the root of all happiness. All right. And we reserve the last half of the time together for questions, discussion, thoughts. I realize I did not acknowledge the people on the YouTube at the beginning of this session, so I want to say hi. I see a couple people have already commented, so if you have any thoughts to add to the discussion, please feel free to do so in the chat. And now I will open it up to anybody who has any thoughts or experiences. It's a relative by sort of day-to-day meditation standards. I think it's a relatively long meditation. It's a full 20 minutes. Oftentimes when I meditate at home, I keep it much shorter. So for those of you who are new to a meditative practice, there's no obligation that every meditation must be 20 full minutes, even including metta. Usually I close my daily meditation with just a quick, I wish myself happiness and all the root of all happiness, I wish, blah, 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 and then wrap it up. I took that from a meditation teacher I had who was asked specifically, should you meditate for a really long time? a couple, when you have the time, or should you meditate in shorter increments? And he said, do you wait until the weekend and then brush your teeth for 40 minutes? So I took that to mean that meditation is something that, should be part of our lives, and to try to incorporate that in my case, in shorter sits that I can realistically do daily or almost daily. As opposed to placing a burden. A lot of people, when they begin a meditation practice in their lives, they think, oh, I have to sit for 20 minutes. And in my experience as a practitioner, that is not how I have been able to use it in my life. I come here to the Sangha for a longer, more guided or more concentrated sit. And in my day-to-day life, I keep it pretty short, frankly. I probably could do a little longer, but, as I say, I'd rather brush my teeth every day than wait for it to lifetime. So, I welcome any thoughts. We can begin at the beginning. Did anyone have any experience or thought, or, resonance or conflict with bringing loving kindness to yourself? Some people find that difficult. Others find it relatively easy. But for us, it is the starting place of the Metta practice. And on mine too, which I have to flip my glasses. I loved your meditation. Thank you. Oh, I hope happiness for you and the root of all harm. Well, thank you. Thank you, person. I'm not sharing that because it was basically a compliment. Thank you. But yeah, great. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Any other thoughts, questions? Yeah, absolutely. Hi.
Recently, I quit drinking. It's been like 40 days now. But this time I feel like actually changing my mindset a little bit and like actually put everything behind and try to be other person in every respect in my life, not just quit drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And today I had an experience that one of my coworker arrived drunk at the job,
Mm-hmm.
and it shifted the energy in the environment a lot, and at the first moment, like, was very annoying. I see myself judging my old self.
Mm.
After I reflect a little bit, I was actually annoyed how I was and not with him, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then after like a few moments, few hours, I start to understand the situation a little bit more. And I was trying, well, how can I help him,
Mm-hmm.
to not, do this because like he's damaging himself. I would say, I can't say
Mm-hmm.
he's damaging himself, but I was kind of, should I say something? Should I not? Because I've been through this before. So I just say, hey, if you need to talk to someone, I go to AA meetings in my temple that I go. Feel free to join us. If you need
Mm-hmm.
someone to talk, just feel free to talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So to recap for those online who might not have heard, this person was describing a situation in which they are seeking sobriety from alcohol, and someone came in intoxicated to their work, and how to affect loving kindness in that setting. And I think there's something about so one of the things in Buddhism is the idea that there is no self, which is to say that the self is not a fixed idea that is held in one place. It's not to say that if you cut off your arm, it doesn't hurt. But when you say the person I used to be, you're acknowledging that you were in a self that was a self that at that time included your alcohol use or your behavior or your thoughts. And that person, that self, is deserving of loving kindness. And then there's another self, which is not a self, because in Buddhism there is no self, that is yourself as you sit now without using alcohol for a period of time. Um, it's actually very interesting because in Buddhism, one of the ideas behind not intoxicating oneself is the alienation from things as they are. And so Buddhists one of the poisons, or one of the activities that Buddhists generally, I mean, look, everyone's different. Everyone makes these decisions for themselves, but in a sort of, conforming to Buddhist ideology, is withholding from using intoxicating substances. And in some Buddhist sects, this includes things like garlic. So, I am not abstaining from garlic. But, the idea is that it is a self-harm. It is an act of not showing loving kindness to yourself. It is an act of avoidance of true consciousness, right? Because it's an alteration to your consciousness. So, for some people, that's fine. It has no impact on them. But again, from a Buddhist perspective, to be in yourself is to be, or in the world as it is to be free from intoxicants that alter that. And as for the person, you're with, I think it's just like it says, approach them with loving kindness, and I think non-judgment, you've been there, right? Non-judgment is a form of loving kindness, right? It's one of the most important forms of loving kindness. So yeah, I mean, I think throughout, again, this is, as I say, it's the bridge that takes us from where are we sitting here and how are we out there. So yeah, I hope I've reflected in some way some of your thoughts for the room. Anybody else? I can say I thought of, when I'm on the days when I'm here, I try to bring a little bit more consciousness to this. And I had this day to day that was so unremarkable in its like stupidity and mundane, things. I am someone for whom like bigger emotions and bigger tasks and bigger challenges can feel really great, and I welcome them, but the little minutia of day to day are really where I come up against myself in the most completely unenlightened ways, And so I had this day where I was just, nothing was quite working right. I tried to fix a thing, it didn't work. I tried to clean a thing, I couldn't get it clean. Eventually, to clean this thing, like I got like my son's water flosser thing for the teeth to try to like squirt water through it. And I just thought, like, this is so stupid. And like, I feel like an idiot. And in that moment, I was thinking, my God, like I was thinking the most unkind thoughts towards myself. I was thinking, of my utter incompetence, my every failure in my life that led me to sit here on the bathroom floor squeezing water into a crack. And it occurred to me that the intention behind it had been completely lost in my cloud of self, right? My cloud of not wanting to do an unpleasant task and wanting to get to this imagined happiness that lies beyond this irritating day. That's the imagined happiness that I think I deserve, right? I think my education has gotten me there. I think my life experience has gotten me there. I think my hard work has gotten me there. And then I thought of it through a lens of loving kindness. And, I thought, am I having loving kindness for myself? Well, no, I'm calling myself an idiot. Like I'm cursing my fate because I have the misfortune to have to like clean a dirty thing. And then I'm thinking, like, where is the loving kindness for the people around me, right? I'm cleaning this thing so that my house is clean for my family, for the people I love. And then beyond that, how do I translate that to a greater sense? Like, well, I'm not cleaning with toxic chemicals. I'm not pouring bleach and ammonia down the drain where they can poison the waterways. We have a genuine sewage crisis in this county. How am I contributing or not contributing to it? So, I use that as a kind of dumb example, but I really, for me personally, I use meditative practice and I use Buddhist practice to get through a day like that, because if I don't bring awareness to the present moment, I get lost in this fog of, very negative self-talk and it's very ego driven. It's very much about me, and then I'm not keeping things in the bigger picture, and I'm cultivating my own suffering, right? Like I'm like kind of like, tending my own suffering like it's a garden instead of tending my loving kindness and my compassion. Like that's my true garden. So that was where I brought my metta practice in today. And I also did have a moment earlier where I was feeling really agitated, and I was like, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to do this dumb thing, this dumb thing, this dumb thing, I have to buy this dumb thing. And I thought, actually, well, I haven't done my meditation yet, and I was like, I should go meditate. And then I didn't. Actually, I'm totally telling on myself, I totally didn't. And it did make a difference, because I didn't take that 6-7 minutes to bring myself the loving compassion through my meditation practice that then can help me get through a day. Like, the majority of our days are going to be like this, right? The majority of people's days are not spectacularly exciting, nor are they inherently awful and full of suffering. They're usually some kind of combination of small, simple pleasures and minor annoyances. Yeah.
So I appreciate you all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But like something that I've been doing, like for me as a personal practice, just kind of step out of the boxes that I put myself in,
Mm-hmm.
or that others put me in, is a common question is just to be present for myself. Is how are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And the most truthful I can be is to say that I'm experiencing my day.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good, it's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
I am experiencing this moment.
Yeah.
And for me, it's like a thank you for bringing me back to the present moment.
Yeah.
And it just eliminates the stories that I tell. That way, I can't say, well, it was good until.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's something that I'm kind of reminding myself.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the day brings, I'll be able to handle it
Mm-hmm.
without judging it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
experiencing it.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever energy that like comes up here, my body's telling me this is going to take a little more effort. Pay attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So reflecting back to the YouTube audience, just in case they didn't hear it, talking about asking yourself as a practice of being present, how am I doing? And approaching that without judgment, to let go of those stories and ideas that you might have about yourself or other people might have about you. And yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the nugget, right? The pure consciousness of what is real and what is in front of us versus our attachments to the story we're telling, whether it's the attachment to the story we're telling to make ourselves feel better or the attachment to what's causing us suffering. Yeah, hi, way back there. Hi.
Hello.
How's it going?
Is it good?
Good.
I found that coming to this room is real easy for me because I can come and I found little people that they want to get quiet and the interactions were limited and I felt very comfortable. Well, my challenge lies in hanging out when I'm outside this room.
Mm-hmm.
It's I found very difficult, and I found myself overstimulated by the external world. And sometimes I don't know how to handle it, but today I was, most of the days very centered, very focused on what I was doing, and I already decided to come to this long kind of meditation. But as the evening approached, I changed my mind, and I was solid without comment. And then I was solid for a period of time, and then I started to get restless. And I was conflicted. So I decided to calm. So I took the bus, and I got into the bus, and there was a group of men talking in a certain way, and I felt very uncomfortable, and I started to feel irritated. So I removed myself from that place. So I got close to
similar to someone who was playing loud music, and at that point I was discontented. So my comment is that I can be centered in certain environments, but when I have to interact with the world, with people, with places and with things, I found myself easily moved from the center to the extreme, and I found myself short. So it happens very automatically that I got restless, and on top of that, I got irritated, and then I got discontented. And so, and all this situation, you know, I honestly don't want to send loving kind of meditation to those struggling
Mm-hmm.
things.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do I have the choice to do that? Yeah, I have the choice to do that. But
Mm-hmm.
if I have to learn to do myself, no, I don't.
Yeah.
But I have to accept that I got affected by external things in a way that it takes me from one place to another place, and then I got in this turmoil. But then when I come here, I come myself, and I go back to the center. So,
Yeah, I think there's to paraphrase for people online, sort of the sensation of being ambivalent about coming or not coming, but wanting to come to this sangha, which is a place of fairly calm, fairly like-minded people seeking to be calm together, and then being on the bus and being around people who are agitating for different reasons. And I mean, I think there's a couple things that come up a lot in this sangha in particular, because we're in San Diego in California, which is a certain amount of like, yeah, there's annoying people out there. Like, meditation is not going to make them not annoying. Loud music is in a public place is unpleasant. It's, especially if it's not music you enjoy listening to. And I think there's so there's I would like to ask you to, or I'd like to ask us all to let go of any sense of self-recrimination that we should somehow be okay with people being annoying or people making us uncomfortable. Part of Buddhism is wisdom, and part of wisdom is taking care of yourself. The reason we start our loving kindness with taking care of ourselves is because if we're not taking care of ourselves, who's going to do it? We, at the end of the day, we are the ones living in this body. We're the ones going in the world. We have to take care of ourselves. And that includes if there's a situation that is causing you acute distress, remove yourself from it. Move. You said you moved the chair. And then other times, I have to stay on this bus until the end. I do. I have to stay on the bus until I can get off. And I am powerless to let other, to make the person turn off the music that would start a confrontation that it's not a good idea. It's often not safe. It's not helpful to the other person. It's not helpful to the people around you. How do I get through this? And, ultimately we get through it, sometimes gritting our teeth, sometimes distracting ourselves, sometimes looking elsewhere. And then we ask a more profound question, right? Which is that, how do I have loving kindness for these people, right? And we often will say, like, in this practice, we bring thoughts of loving kindness to people we find difficult. Well, for example, there's a number of unhoused people in our community who have mental issues and have a substance use and can act in very confrontational ways, or can be, like, there's a sense of like, I'd rather not have this person near me. They're like a little dirty. They're a little unpleasant. How do we know that they are still human? They're still deserving of loving kindness. And more so, if we are going to take the time to bring this loving kindness to ourselves, how are we bringing it into, our world around us? And so sitting on that bus, you feeling loving kindness for people from a very traditional Buddhist tradition, and a very sort of not literal, but a very adhering to the idea your being in loving kindness to those people brings them healing, brings them closer to the happiness and the loving kindness that is the birthright of every sentient being. Or on maybe a less literal and more, metaphorical level, it's bringing you peace with the fact that throughout our lives, we're going to be dealing with things that annoy us. There always will be. I mean, in New York, I'm from New York. It used to be people clipping their nails on the subway. It's one of the most awful things you could ever encounter. And the idea that I would ever have loving kindness for those people is like so bizarre. But, I can think, all right, it's a human being. Did this person stab me in the gut? No. Did this person violate, my bodily autonomy or someone's safety or someone's, sanity with clipping nails? No, it's annoying. I don't wish them harm. I don't wish them harm. I wish they would do their nail clipping in their bathroom, but I fundamentally, as a human being, wish them loving kindness and don't wish them harm. I hope that reflects back something that is meaningful to you in this conversation. Anyone online have anything? Or yeah, I was actually going to get to we start with I began with talking about myself and ourselves, and then we bring it to someone who naturally inspires love, and then the neutral person. I don't know if anyone had any experience or any difficulty or any thoughts about bringing it to someone about whom you feel relatively neutral. No, people are like, it's good. Yeah.
My favorite thing is always pick the last person in the service role. Like, 7-Eleven, Sprouts.
Yeah.
That's the neutral person.
Yeah. Although I always have a hard time when people say grocery store, because the grocery store in this neighborhood, they're usually so pleasant and nice. Like when I think about like a grocery store, I now start going like, oh, they're so great, So like I do. But yeah, if you are in a place where the service person is relatively neutral and you don't automatically have very positive feelings about them, it's they're just passing by. Yeah.
That person is really nice for weeks.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's absolutely. We had a meeting here, a class here right before the holidays, and someone was talking about the contradiction of being in line to send loving kindness in the form of gifts, to purchase gifts for someone you love, and then being really unpleasant to the person right in front of you. So it's like we're trying to make this act of loving kindness to this person who lives in Ohio, and we're not even showing loving kindness to the person who's helping us get the thing to the person in Ohio. So yeah, totally. And again, it's like one of those things where it's, it almost sounds a little old-fashioned with like sort of manners or politeness, which sounds more like a set of behaviors that are dictated to us. But when it's dictated from a place of wanting to exist in the world in a better way, that can hopefully lead to a better outcome or a more harmonious outcome. Totally. I had that moment too, because among the many irritating things I had to do today, it included calling some like Cal Savers, the Cal Savers thing. It's this new thing you have to do. And I didn't get the paper on time. And and I was anticipating being on hold, and I had this whole thing in my head. And then the person picked up, they looked at my file, took the little number, everything was fine. And, just taking that moment of just being like, thank you so much. I hope you have a good day. That was very helpful. I now know I don't need to do anything, letting this person know that they helped me resolve the situation and that it is a human being on the other end of the line. I have absolutely been guilty of yelling and cursing at people on the other end of the line. And I really and truly no longer do that, because they absolutely did not make the agenda that made Cal Savers need the paperwork or whatever, that we all, I let go of that story a long time ago. So yeah. And then oftentimes the difficult person, I think something comes up often. I think I and other people who lead this meditation are very clear to say, you know, this does not have to be the worst person you've ever met, the person you've had the most difficulty with, the person, you know, that you might be in direct conflict with. It can be. That's not always where we're out on a given Wednesday night, and that might not be the relationship we have with either our meditative practice or with the world at large. And you know, I do recommend reading some of the literature from people like Thich Nhat Hanh, who have used meditative practice to do things like facilitate reconciliations between North Vietnamese and South Vietnamese, for example, or members of the Viet Cong and people that they were in conflict with. And it's very powerful. But again, you know, on a Wednesday night in San Diego, we might not be in the place where we're there. But, you know, we all have, again, we will always have people that we will have difficulties with, whether it's just we just don't get along with them, or they've caused us harm, God forbid, but they might have caused us harm or caused somebody else harm. Or, you know, again, they might just be someone that is in conflict or unpleasant. And to live in this world, we have to live with them, right? And to live in this world in a way that brings about, you know, a better outcome for ourselves and others and the world at large, approaching them with loving kindness is, you know, if you ascribe to a Buddhist thought or attempt a Buddhist practice, is an incredibly important part of it. So I don't know if anyone had any thoughts about that. Or yeah. Oh, sorry. Let me take him and then I'll take you. Great, thanks. Yeah, go ahead.
I think of a difficult person. I kind of have a hard time wanting them to be happy. Like,
yeah.
It's okay thinking like I want them to have love in their life and feel safe and secure. But happiness, sometimes maybe I want them to feel shame or something else.
Yeah, I totally get that. And happiness is like super tricky word. And it can be a little, we kind of have to divorce it a little bit from the way we use it in our day-to-day life and the way it is in a Buddhist application. I brought this in a while ago, but it was some phrasing from a Buddhist prayer that was translated, and it said, "May all sentient beings not be separated from the perfect happiness that is free from suffering." And so, again, this is, if you ascribe to Buddhist thought, the idea is that happiness is essentially our natural state in which we are free from suffering, right? And when you wish someone happiness, you're not wishing them something extra or something special. And in a way, sometimes I think about looking for different language, because sometimes I agree that it's like happiness can sound like you're wishing they have something nice. But if you can, if we all can, and if we are people who are interested in Buddhist thought, I think it's important to acknowledge that happiness is essentially the birthright of all sentient beings. You know, your cat is entitled to happiness. The snail is entitled to happiness. It is something that that is naturally available to us, and that we are separated from through our suffering, either because of our seeking for pleasure or our aversion to suffering. And so, yeah, I agree. And I occasionally will attempt to use a metta to someone that I've had a pretty big rupture with in my past. And sometimes I really struggle. And sometimes I just think, you know, I wish them happiness in the root of all happiness. You know, I just can't stand you. I don't like you. You're sexist. You know, and yet I still wish them happiness in the root of all happiness, because if I'm going to pursue a Buddhist practice, that is part of it. And again, because wishing them happiness in the root of all happiness, like I can still wish they get a bad review. You know, I can still wish they don't get the grant. I can still wish their hair falls out. I can still wish those things. They're not going to happen, right? And ultimately, they make me look pretty dumb and petty. But on a fundamental level, do I wish this person suffering? Do I wish them harm? Do I wish their family harm? No, a million times no. Which is even why, in a heightened, period of conflict as we live in, we can think about people whom we perceive as being difficult because of ways they're acting in a societal level, and still think, do I wish them bodily harm? No. Do I wish them, their families, their children harm? Absolutely not. Do I wish they have enough to eat? Yes. Do I wish they're at peace? Yes. So I think if we can kind of get out of the idea of happiness as this, like, wow, yay, I'm so happy, and into an idea, and again, it might just be translation. There might be better language out there. Yeah.
Something that really helps me wish people that have caused me harm happiness is I realize hurt people.
Yeah.
And if somebody finds amusement in hurting people, I hope they find happiness in something else so they can relocate their intentions.
Yeah. So just letting people on YouTube know, we had a discussion about sort of the issue of how difficult it can be to try to feel loving kindness for people whom we find difficult, and who may have caused us harm. And we were talking about, as I say, it not being something extra special. And also this person reflected back about the idea that oftentimes people who are causing harm have been themselves harmed, and the wish is that they find other ways to express healing or outputs for that harm. And I just do want to get to you, because I just don't want to be a jerk and be like, you next, but we are almost basically out of time. But that's great.
Thank you for holding space and doing the meditation tonight. I really enjoyed, for me, the concept of I'm practicing the golden rule, do unto others. So when I'm doing, I don't have the expectation, but karmically, my side of the street is clean. You were just saying, I don't wish anybody suffering. And so the opposite is, I wish that they are free from suffering. May we all be enlightened, because one of the Buddhist principles is if one person's suffering, we're all suffering, because we're all connected, because there's no self.
Yeah.
And so I'm just I'd be kicking myself in the butt by wishing somebody else bad. So I do bring in the challenging people and be okay, someone just said, hurt people, or have compassion for that. It just kind of softens the resistance to wanting to wish them happiness.
Yeah.
And okay, we all
Yeah.
have some sort of past, and people react, I act out of that sometimes. And when I can step back and look at it in bigger picture, it's I'm just cleaning the karmic slate and creating positive karma, and just putting love out there.
Yeah.
Whether I would ever tell them to their face or not, no.
Yeah.
I don't wish anyone suffering. It's kind of
to reflect to YouTube about talking about wanting to be part of an intention towards good. Oftentimes we do use the word karma, not in a way of what goes around comes around, but in the sense that our thoughts lead to our actions, lead to results in the world, and therefore bringing thoughts of loving kindness can contribute to better outcomes for ourselves and others. I'm going to read the dedication, ring the bell, and then we'll have an announcement from the host. If you feel comfortable doing so, you may bring your palms together, bring them to your heart. May any merit gained from this practice be transferred to all beings in all directions. May all beings be at peace. May all be free from suffering. And we'll have an announcement from our host.
Hi everyone, I'm Erica. I'm tonight's host. We opened the Dharma Temple 18 years ago to introduce Buddhist practice to those who show up. Those who lead are not nuns, monks, gurus, masters, or teachers, and are not looking for students. They are simply practitioners sharing their interpretation of the practice. Every night, we have different classes led by different people from various Buddhist traditions. We have a recovery sangha that meets several times a week for anyone with addiction, and our food redistribution program is every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. We have classes and programs every day, and everything we offer here is always free. The full schedule is on our website and also posted in the entryway above the sheetrock. We have a lending library. If you see a book you like, feel free to borrow it and bring it back whenever you are done with it. Please straighten your seat or your cushion before you head out. If anyone can stay behind and latch a couple of the windows, that would be great. Thank you for being here. We wish you well, and we hope to see you all again.
Thank you.